Hey, good morning, everyone. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. Norm in London, Mike in Buffalo. It is Sunday, October 15th, 2023. The Leafs coming off a 7-4 victory over the Wild at Scotiabank Arena. It was a wild game. Mr. Austin Matthews collecting his second straight hat trick. That is consecutive hat tricks to start the 23-24 campaign. It seems like when Austin Matthews does something, it's the first time that anybody could ever elevate their game to that level. But in terms of scoring 6 goals over 2 games, back-to-back hat tricks, it's been done before. The last time that happened, the one and only Alex Ovechkin in 2017 to 2018 to open up that campaign. So it doesn't happen frequently, but when Austin Matthews does it, especially right now, and everything he pretty much touches turns to gold, it is an amazing thing. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Norm. Coming off signing the 4-year extension and being the highest paid player in the NHL starting next year, he's, I think, third right now. There was expectation. We need to see more than what he did last year where he scored 4. It's pretty nice when your bad year is 40 goals.
Yeah, and I don't think Austin Matthews is the reason the team didn't make it. I mean, maybe in the last couple of games there, but I digress.
I don't think anybody was thinking that, but I think people were thinking we're paying the highest salary in the league, and we need more than 40 goals. So I think he's got something to prove. But he's played fantastic. I mean, we have to realize this, and I've even tried to keep my opinionated side in check.
Right.
As we've seen year after year after year, the hockey that we see in the first month or 6 weeks of the season is not the hockey that we see in the middle and at the end of the season. Right now, everybody, it's not padding their stats, but everybody is just playing fast and loose and, throttle wide open and defense be damned.
Right.
And, we've seen that 5 goals against a below average Montreal team in the opening victory. And now they score 7 against a really good defensive Minnesota team, and Gustafsson, who's one of the best goalies in the league. They score 7 goals on them. They allow 4, and we'll get to the negative in a little bit. But the positive is that the Leafs power play is going great guns, and their top players are playing like top players. So, so much the better. They're 2-0, and I don't think many people are complaining, but down the line, they can't play this type of wide open hockey and expect to win consistently, especially going into the playoffs.
This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, OakRidgeFord.com. Lots of sales going on over the next couple of weeks as we get into, the smack dab into the middle of fall. Plenty of F-150s on the ground. If you're looking for all electric, Mach-E is just all over the lot right now at Norm at Oak Ridge Ford on Instagram. Follow me there. You can check out what I do on a daily basis when it's not related to the Leafs Convo. And I'd love to interact with you, especially if you have any questions about leasing a vehicle, financing a vehicle, selling your vehicle. I'm more than willing to engage with you and help you out, even if you don't buy a vehicle from me. When all is said and done, that would be fantastic. You support us here through the project. Come on over and see what I can do for you in terms of buying your next or leasing your next Ford. We do have a lot of used vehicles on the lot too. Robert Biore, seems like Matthews does everything he does. He doesn't even need to try to score. It just goes in. When he's red hot, Mike, it is an absolute pleasure to watch this guy operate. He said last night after the game, I want to play at the highest level that I can every night. I'm not really thinking in the past or thinking about years in the past. It's all about today. Mike, if these are the formative opportunities for the team to figure itself out, I'd rather see what I'm seeing right now and then iron out the kinks than to shit the bed in the first 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think they will find them. I think they will straighten themselves out. I mean, Sheldon Keefe after the game against Montreal said, what was the thing that you liked most about the game? And he said the 2 points, because, in the end, that's what mattered. But how they got there was sort of secondary, but it's something that he has to be concerned about, because down the line, like I said, you're going to lose points playing sort of fast and loose. So, that's a good mindset for Matthews to have. He's looking at, what's in front of him. He's right. His team is a talented team that has a few flaws, and most teams have flaws, and it's
Right.
a question of whether you can overcome them. Right now, they're overcoming them with overwhelming offense.
I
And
liked how he's tempering the enthusiasm, and then that's not because he's poo-pooing on his accomplishments or trying to subdue the fan base. He's been down this road before. He scored 60 before. That's what he does. That's who he is. That's in his DNA. He's going to go down as one of the most prolific goal scorers of all time, and it's happening in real time right now. Scoring 6 goals in the first 2 games is not what he thought he would do, but it's really not that surprising considering just how efficient he is offensively and how consistent he's been since he arrived in the league. But he knows it's all smoke and mirrors unless you can finally get this group of players across a finish line that you've never been able to reach before. So this is just all what it's going to take in the end, and this is the byproduct of being just a superior offensive talent who we'd like to see grow his game into a more rounded, more encompassed style of play, which he seems to be working at and getting better at.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, right now, I mean, he's scoring from everywhere. Everything is going in the net. I mean, it's nice to see, but again, you have to look at everything else that's going on. And on the positive track. I think Tavares is playing fantastic. I think he has 5 assists right now. Not 246, not 240.
Kelly Yarncroft's on pace for an 82-point season, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, so right, so
everybody's chipping in.
Right. Now, I think one little bit of concern, just because you see a player getting lots of opportunities and not cashing in, and and I'm talking about Tyler Bertuzzi. He had 5. I think he had 5 shots on goal against Montreal. He had probably on every one of those shots it was a golden scoring chance, and he could not cash in.
4 shots last night, but I mean, if you're not putting yourself in position to be offensive, that's the problem. He's right there, and someone else is picking up the offensive slack right now. Are you telling me you're concerned about him?
Well, the thing is that not cashing in on those chances when you're playing with Matthews and Marner, that's missed opportunities. Now, he did score yesterday. He finally got his first goal. And maybe that'll shake him loose a little bit. But I mean, if he would have scored on 1 or 2 of those goals, then the Montreal game would have been completely out of range. But he was stoned by Jake Allen. Yesterday, Gustafsson made a couple really nice saves on him, and then he scored the goal. So they just need him in that premium position, playing with Matthews and Marner, to be able to pot 30 goals. And
I'd be more concerned if he wasn't in the mix and he was not setting himself up to be offensive, and if he was not working in sync with the guys who can help drive him and put him in a position where he can, seal the deal. It's 2 games, Mike, and as you said earlier, that we need to take what we see right now with a grain of salt, the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly.
Right, and I mean, we have the luxury of them being 2-0 to look at things objectively and not just. Everything is beautiful. They're going to win the Stanley Cup. They're going to go 82-0. They're going to go 16-0 in the 4 rounds, and they're going to be carrying the cup down Yonge Street. Okay, I look at it realistically. I mean, you have to be encouraged by the start of Matthews, of course. I mean, he's leading the league and he scored 2 hat tricks. So what can't you be happy about? Sure. Nylander has looked fantastic, but again, there's a double-edged sword there. He looks fantastic. He's playing great. Good luck trying to sign him. And that's going to be a narrative. If you don't think that's going to be a narrative all year, it's going to be. Elliot Friedman and Pierre LeBrun and the insiders are talking about it constantly, even though the media are not asking the questions, because he said he wasn't going to answer the questions. but it's going to be an ongoing situation where.
Can you explain, Mike, if the Leafs and Nylander wanted to generate a contract for the foreseeable future or the next 2 years or several years, if they wanted to do it right now, could they?
Yes, July 1st. He had a year left in his contract, and under the rules of the CBA, you can sign an extension after, when a year or less is left on the deal. So, like Matthews, he was entering the final year of his contract. Right. He signed a 4-year extension. Nylander's agent, Louis Gross, and Brad Treliving are continuing their discussions. Sure. But everybody is reporting, and nobody's in the room, but I mean, I trust the people like Pierre and CJ and Elliot Friedman. They have sources that I never will, and they're saying it's not even close right now. That the you could drive a Mack truck through the difference that the Leafs are offering and the difference that the camp of Nylander.
Robert Biore, 10-5 for Willie.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be with Toronto. If it's 10-5.
Arnav B. Willie should still not get more than 9.5 max.
Well, okay. From the Leafs' perspective about what they can handle in terms of cap, 9.5 might be too much because they're going to have to pay Marner. And I know there are sizable members of the fan base who believe they should pay Nylander over Marner, but they want both of them. And if they want both of them, Marner is probably going to be asking for 11 and a half. Now he's making almost 11 now. So do you think that he's going to take 11, which is just an extension of what he's expect a raise? So maybe he's going to want him as much as 12. Now the saving will be on John Tavares' new contract, which I am convinced that he will sign an extension with the Leafs, and maybe he goes down to $7 million, which is what Nylander is making, and then it's just taking from Peter to pay Paul. But
what does Nylander's camp want, Mike? Sorry to interrupt, but I've just got to keep this thing moving. What do they want?
Nylander's camp reportedly wants over $10 million. The compromise was thought to be maybe in the mid-9s. I think that's too much.
But his value go up even more if he's 45.
If he keeps scoring the way he's scoring right now, sure. I mean, if he scores 45 goals, then he's going to get over $10 million. He's not going to get it from Toronto, but he's going to get
Odog Chung, Willie is 10-5 all day.
Yeah, not with Toronto it's going to be.
Right. Jeez. And that's the thing. We're really in – see, okay, so we've been talking about William Nylander on this show since it's TLC 1, right? I like him more today than I've ever liked him before. That doesn't mean that I'm not willing to part ways with him to benefit the organization. What it comes down to, Mike.
Well, I look at this team and I look at what I think will prevent them from winning the Stanley Cup. And as usual, it's the defense. And to a little bit of a lesser extent, it's the goaltending. I mean, I don't know whether Samsonov is the answer, but they're not going to win with this defense. They're not going to win a Stanley Cup with this defense. So
I see you pivoting, Mike. I see you pivoting here. Buddy.
Yeah, it's all about allocation of funds. It's all about, you have the cap going up. But Brad Treliving likes big, tough defense. And this is not a big, tough defense. So next summer, you're probably going to see them try to go out and sign or trade for big, tough defensemen. Can they do that when they sign Nylander for $10 million? I don't think they can. So that's where I think.
So the Leafs have given up 9 regulation goals in the last 2 games. Do we give most of the blame to Samsonov, or most of the blame to a defense that's still trying to find its way, or do we blame it on the fact they just don't have the right personnel back there? And if they did, even through these first 2 games, we'd see signs of a group that can score at will, but can batten down the hatches when it needs to defensively in periods of the game when that is necessary.
I mean, right now you can't say it's all on Samsonov or it's all on defense. I think it's a combination. The fact that, like I said, they're playing sort of a wide open offensive style right now. There's, early in the season, that's sort of allowed. It's sort of expected that, teams are not going to be playing middle of the season defensive, responsible hockey.
Right.
So, could the forwards be coming back a little better and playing better two-way? Yeah, they could. I mean, there have been a couple goals where Brody gives up the puck and Jake Evans gets or he trips over his own feet and Jake Evans scores on a breakaway, or Liljegren feathers a pass and he flubs it and Alonen scores. I mean, those happen, but I think there have been some weak goals by Samsonov, and I would hope that after two okay efforts, not great, didn't make a big save, that they play Wall on Monday against Chicago.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, I'm just saying if they're basically going under the assumption that Samsonov is the number one and Wall is the backup, then they're going to run with Samsonov and only play Wall in back-to-back situation. I don't think that's a winning formula. I think you've got to find out what you have in Joseph Wall, and I think playing Samsonov 60 games and Wall 22 is not good. I think you need probably like 52 and 30. Give Wall enough starts to see what you really have, because Samsonov's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, and Joseph Wall might be your starter next year.
Right. OG's Commerce, what do you think about this Wall Samsonov dynamic? I'd like to see Joseph Wall play more, and we may see him play more, especially if the results of Ilya Samsonov's efforts leave more to be desired, and that's okay. The key for me is health. If one goes down and another is just hanging by a thread, I mean, that's going to be a major problem, and another thing that we're going to be talking about night in and night out, in addition to the ultimate ending or restarting of William Nylander with the Maple Leafs. Geez, I don't know. Let's see through the comments. And Mike, thanks so much for your expertise. HockeyBuzz.com is where you can read Mr. Augello's latest work. Dog Chung, big contributor today. No way, Norm, we have to keep this guy in there. He's talking about William Nylander, do good. You guys act like these guys don't want to be Leafs. They want to be here. The deals will get done. Look, if at this stage of the game, if I'm William Nylander, never mind if I feel that the fan base is so polarized about me and that I want to kind of stick it to those who don't love me. Forget about all that shit. Of course, he'd love to be a Maple Leaf, but he wants to get paid. And if he's putting up the numbers that warrant a big payday, why the hell would you not want to make all the money you possibly can? William Nylander's not a baby anymore, Mike. I mean, he was around before Mitch Marner. He was around before Austin Matthews. This is an opportunity for him to make massive Skrilla. And if the Leafs just can't pay him, then they can't pay him. So what? That's just the way it goes.
Well, I mean, what the previous comment was, these guys want to be in Toronto. Yeah, they also want to get paid.
Right.
If we were under the old pre-cap system where the Leafs are paying, Matt Sundin $9 million and Alex McGillney, whatever. I mean, they were paying good money out to a number of players, and they didn't win anything, but they weren't a cheap organization. But they didn't win. But there's a cap now. So if you're paying Austin Matthews the highest salary in the NHL, which he deserves, and Mitch Marner, who's 100 points or close to 100 points, and he's going to be making fairly close to what Matthews is, and then you can't pay a third player $10 million because then you won't be able to surround them with a supporting cast that you need to win. So somebody is going to have to take less. Now, the argument is, why should it be Nylander? He took less on the last deal. Well, because at that point, he hadn't proved anything. And that was the mistake of Kyle Dubas, paying Matthews $11.6 million and paying Marner almost $11 million coming off their entry-level contracts. That probably cost this team players that they could have traded for at the deadline or players they could have signed in free agency. The whole thing is, it has been proven, you cannot pay half your salary cap to 4 players and surround them with a good enough team to win. And that's, You can't keep repeating that. It doesn't work. If it's 5 players, if it's 6 players, sure.
Right.
4.
It's part of the process. Like, here we are 2 games in, the Leafs 2-0, Austin Matthews with 6 goals in the first 2 games, back-to-back hat tricks. William Nylander's playing well. And, we're lamenting the day that he either gets traded, gets signed for too much, or just walks. Can't we just enjoy what's happening right now?
No.
It's the elephant in the room, right?
No, you can't. You can sort of live with blinders on or with headphones on, because people are interested in this team being successful. Not only this year, but in the years going forward. And maybe the argument is that they won't be successful if Nylander leaves. If he leaves for nothing,
right,
and they have one less really good scoring forward, then they won't be successful. But they might not be successful with him if they have to pay him too much. And that's a delicate balance. So,
Mike, do good. 35 mil on 3 players is nothing when the cap is 90 mil.
Well, do good. I'm sorry to say, I'm glad you're not my general manager. If I mean, dude, I said, I'm sorry. It's like, they have other players, but they're paying Morgan Riley $7.5 million. So it's not just those, they need, for this team to be a Stanley Cup contender, they need 2 more defensemen. Giordano's probably going to retire at the end of the year. Brody is a UFA. I don't know if they'll bring him back. He's making $5 million. So that's $5.8 million that gets opened up. Okay. That's 1 defenseman in this market. Maybe you can sign a Matt Dumba in free agency. The Leafs were interested in him. Maybe you can sign him in free agency. But I'm telling you right now, they need more than 1. They need probably 2. And one of them being a top pairing guy. And those players don't come cheap.
Right. Commander Brantford. I'm curious if you guys advocate trading Nylander. Commander Brantford, you've been around long enough to know the answer to that. Maybe. Possibly. if it benefits the team. And that's the thing. We love these guys, right? They've grown up in our system. And sure, they can afford $35 million for 3 guys. When the cap is $90 million, there's lots of other money. But wouldn't you want to devote bigger money to somebody who makes greater impact on a part of the ice that you feel leaves enough to be desired? That is, it's a glaring omission when it comes to putting a team together that requires adequate attention, right? And that's the defensive end of the game. There are people who would love to see Mitch Marner moved out and all that potential money freed up. Fair enough. It's just the idea of having Nylander, Matthews, and Marner making ridiculous coin and then just divvying it up amongst the rest. I don't believe that is the best way to financially plan or put together a Stanley Cup winner. I just do not. And take Marner, take Nylander, whichever guy you don't want here, fair enough. You got to free up some of that money to delegate and to help accentuate other parts of this roster, Mike.
Now, there was talk back when he signed a 1-year deal in July that the Tyler Bertuzzi deal was actually a 8-year deal disguised as a 1-year deal. After January 1st, he can sign an extension. But the Leafs, because of the cap situation and, not wanting to, and at that point, not knowing what Matthews was going to cost or what Nylander is going to cost, they couldn't commit to it. But if he has success, then it's very possible that he signs a 6 or 7-year extension in January. And that might be the first sign. If they sign Bertuzzi to a 6 or 7-year extension for, say, $6 million, then I'm telling you right now, then Nylander's gone, because I don't think
the money's coming from the John Tavares savings, according to Do Good, and who's been a great contributor to the show today, by the way.
Well, but but the problem is that there's a year overlap, and that's the issue here. The issue here is both Tavares and Marner don't become unrestricted free agents until the end of next season. Nylander becomes a free agent at the end of this season. You still got $11 million with Tavares and almost $11 million with Marner on the books. So then if you sign Nylander for 10 or 10.5, as everybody's saying, so that's 11, 13 and a quarter, and 10. Where are you paying everybody else? Where? With what? I mean, if you could pay somebody outside of the cap, which it's only going up 6 or at most, it's going up $4 million next year. So where are you getting this money?
I may have had more affection for a guy like William Nylander if he were in prime. Well, I was a prime fan of the team, but as you get older, you become more skeptical and jaded based on the experiences you've had with the team that you followed for so long. I'm in a place now, the same place I've been during most of this project, Mike. It's a place where, pessimism usually tempers the optimism, and that's fair. Trust me, if you guys are in your, late teens, early 20s, 30s, you're going to get here. I'm hoping that when you do get here, that the Leafs have buried some championships that'll change your perspective. I really don't give a frig who's on the ice. I don't have an affection for a particular player. I don't have Austin Matthews posters in my room, William Nylander slippers, Mitch Marner. I don't do the Mitch Marner gritty dance. I hope nobody does. I just want to see the team win, and I really don't care who's on this team to get that done. And that's why with a guy like William Nylander, whether he stays or goes, as long as it's a smart move that benefits the organization, I don't care. I really don't care. And we're kind of, getting off the beaten path here on the Nylander talk, but it's just, again, as I've mentioned, and Mike, and as you continue to fuel this conversation, it's the elephant in the room. The good thing is he's playing really well, and that the Leafs can benefit from that night in and night out. Odog Chung has been a really good contributor today. Odog, you're not a troll. No, you're not a troll. Who's the other guy? Is it Alan Tamps? I'm sorry. Somebody is usually, kind of getting us going a little bit. You're close to getting blocked, but Odog, you've been really good today, and thank you very much for that. There's a comment from Odog. He wanted us to talk a little bit about Ryan Reeves. Okay, so we're going to go from the effervescence of William Nylander to knuckle dragging of Ryan Reeves. So he gets into a fight with Marcus Foligno. You go on social media, and this is fighting in the game is as polarizing as our love or hatred for William Nylander. Mm-hmm. What's your take on it? That's 2 fights in a row. He gets the place going, and regardless of what you think about fighting, whether it has any place in the game, the guy should be banished, arrested by Toronto Police Services. The entire arena, and one that's generally pretty subdued, was on its feet, and the players on the benches banging their sticks on the boards. I'm not saying we have to see it all the time, but at least in that moment, it felt like it got people going, and even Austin Matthews applauded what Ryan Reeves did. And we can say what we want about fighting and whether it has a place in the game or those kinds of moments mean anything to what transpires in the immediate. But really, you should probably pull players and find out how they feel. Guys like Ryan Reeves contribute to what they're trying to accomplish. Last few points to you, Mike, and we'll go.
Yeah, I'm a fan of fighting. I'm a fan of physical hockey. I have no problem with Reeves stirring it up. I mean, if he doesn't stir up in 8 or 9 minutes of ice time, which is probably what he's normally going to get, then he doesn't belong on the team or doesn't belong in the lineup. He's got to be a physical presence. He's got to be a disturber. And he's done that in the first couple games. He laid out a couple Montreal players. He hit Caden Gooley, and Jack-Eye jumped him. And now, I'm sure you're going to see an Arbor Jack-Eye Reeves fight the next time the Habs play the Leafs. Last night, he plays his former team in Minnesota. He's got friends on the team. He says, I'm tougher on the team, on players that are friends of mine. So fine, and that's fine. And I didn't have a problem with the one hit that he laid on against, I think it was Merrill on the wall. And then the one that Foligno got in on was when he hit Freddie Gaudreau, and it was a clean check. It was It wasn't blindside. It wasn't head. It was shoulder. But Reeves is a much bigger player than Gaudreau, and he laid him out, and Foligno called him to task. And, that's what Foligno has to do. That's what Reeves has to do. That's part of his job. He's not going to score 10 goals.
Right.
He's not going to be a difference maker in terms
Right.
of offense. He will be a difference maker in terms of keeping the flies off. Now, whether I agree with the assertion that Hockey Night in Canada that Max Domi getting into a fight and Ryan Reeves getting into a fight directly correlated to William Nylander being able to walk to the front of the net and score, I don't know about that. I can't quantify that. I just know that you need toughness on this team.
Right.
There's not a lot of toughness, and if Reeves is one guy that makes other teams keep their heads up, then that's a good thing. I'll just say this about a couple other things before we go. Matthew Nyes, I think, has played really well in the first 2 games. Hasn't resulted in any goals yet, but I think he's playing well two-way, responsible defensively, getting some chances. He almost scored the game winner in overtime against Montreal on Wednesday, so I think it's only a matter of time. I think Fraser Minton has played really well in 2 games. He hasn't registered. He's come close. Hasn't registered a point yet. I just wonder.
But that's okay. That's okay.
No, I know. I'm not.
The Leafs don't need scoring, Mike.
Right, but I'm just wondering how long this experiment lasts, because I don't know whether they think this is a situation where he stays the entire season. I think they're just doing a game by game thing. They've got players down with the Marlies that once if you send Minton back to Kamloops, Bobby McMahon, who I was shocked that cleared waivers, he scored 2 goals in the Marlies home opener against Rochester. You've got Pontus Holmberg down there. So I think they're rewarding the kid for a really good preseason. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, then he stays. But I don't know how long he stays. That's all.
The Leafs don't have problems scoring. If guys who are supposed to score don't score, that's an issue. But, you don't have to score a goal to have a good game, right? You don't have to score a goal to have a good game. And, you're bringing up guys on the farm who are chomping at the bit to join this team. What do the Leafs have in abundance? Forwards, right? What do they have in abundance? And nobody wants to take these guys who are just working their way through a system in a trade where you'll get back somebody who's incredibly dynamic and impactful on the blue line. What do you have to do? Send somebody away, who's close to equal value and potentially in a position of vulnerability when it comes to their contractual status, right? So it all remains to be seen how it shakes out. OG's Converse, please like the content, subscribe to the channel. I did want to share one thing here. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. Leafs Convo poll from a couple of days ago. How do we end these games? And this is a poll that came after the opener with Montreal and went to a shootout. 74% of you believe more 3-on-3 is the answer to ending a regular season, regulation plus time hockey game in the NHL. 10% would like to see that shootout. So 1 out of 10 people want the shootout. And Mike, you didn't advocate for reinstalling ties as part of results here.
I did. I said.
Oh, you're advocating. I thought you were just suggesting that you're all right with it.
I said
16% say a tie is fine.
I said 10 minutes of 3-on-3, and then after 10 minutes of 3-on-3, I end the game no matter what it is. Tie. That's fine. I have no problem.
Nikita Zadorov's name has come up a couple times in the chat, Mike.
Yes, Martin Jones did clear waivers. Zadorov is a former Sabre first-round pick, was traded to Colorado in the Ryan O'Reilly deal, eventually got his way to Calgary and Chicago as well. Big, tough Russian defenseman, not exactly very mobile, but if you pair him with a mobile defenseman, then I think you can get away with it. He's not somebody you spend $6 million on, but he might be somebody who, as a 4-5, as a sort of middle or bottom pairing guy, would be a good ad because he's a beast. He's very physical, and I think that's something that the Leafs need. So I've heard extension talk in Calgary with Hanifin, with Tanev, Have not heard it with Zadorov, so that would lead me to believe he's going to hit the open market in July. And based on Treliving and his penchant for big defensemen, I think him coming to Toronto would be very possible.
The Chicago game is going to be a lot of fun. Can Matthews string together a third straight hat trick? Will Joseph Woll get his first start of the regular season? And what will Connor Bedard do? That's amazing. And I'd also like to see Max Domi have a big game. Marner's been pretty quiet, and some of the guys you'd like to see score before they go back to either junior or to the Marlies contribute too. It's nice when it's a mosaic of contributors, but we know night in and night out you're going to get real offensive output, or at least plenty of offensive chances from the guys like Nylander and Matthews and Marner and Tavares, the guys who are tried, tested, and true. So that's not really an issue. It's just when other players can have an impact that it resembles what you'd see from the big four, big five guys on any given night, that's great, because we're starting to see a team blossom and evolve throughout the roster and the lineup. Mike, I gave you the last word like 50 last words ago, but if you have anything else to add, go for it right now, and then I'll wrap her up.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, you're done. Any football today?
Tonight, Giants Bills at the stadium, and I'm glad I don't have Bills season tickets because it's going to be 50 and rainy. So I'll watch it from the warmth of my house, and those people can freeze their cool unis off. Okay. Any thoughts on the NL and ALCS?
Yeah, I'm all Phillies, man. I'd like to see it happen. I really would. And I know, you're Buffalo, but I know that New York and Philly don't necessarily like each other, and I don't think people who are Yankees fans want to see anything Philadelphia succeed. But I mean, I like where Bryce Harper is as a player right now. He's just a great ambassador for the game, and two-time MVP. Kind of things have gone quiet around him for a little while with the likes of Shohei Ohtani grabbing a lot of spotlight, Ronald Acuna Jr. But they were there last year. And they're back again. It would be nice to see them return to the World Series and beat the shit out of one of those Texas teams, because Houston needs another championship like a hole in the head, and I've never really liked the Rangers that much. As for the Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll's awesome, and the ex-Blue Jays doing their thing. It's kind of fun to see, but you can't have that much success so soon. Get out of here.
I think it'll be Philly, and I pray it'll be Texas.
Because your vitriolic disdain.
No, because
for the Astros.
Because I hate cheaters, and the Astros will always be cheaters, and that's it.
Get out of here with that, Mr. Righteous.
That's right.
So, Barry Bonds.
I hate cheaters.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Get on your pulpit and just pontificate. Isn't that what you do at hockeybuzz.com anyway?
That is exactly what
Okay. Enough baseball talk. We're going to start losing subscribers. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. It's great to see a lot of people I haven't seen for a while return to the show, the Sunday Spectacular, once a week. Don't forget, you can count on it. And then we'll sprinkle in a midweek show going forward as well. Maybe it's tomorrow night. I don't know. It really depends. Sometimes we'll have our back-to-back broadcasts, and other circumstances we'll just kind of space them out a little bit to give you guys a chance to indulge in the content that we've created and anticipate what's about to happen next. Don't forget, Norm at Oak Ridge Ford on Instagram is where you can see everything that I'm doing within the car business. And if you need any help with leasing, financing, any questions about your potential next car purchase, I am your guy. Mike's at hockeybuzz.com, and we have a full Sunday here at the James household, and I think it's time to go to Costco. So wish me luck. For Mike, I'm Norm. Talk to you soon.